Don't listen to this alone in the dark. Welcome back, listeners. If you're ever alone in a laundromat and one of the washers starts with nobody near it, do not go over to the glass to see what's inside. If that ever happens to you, leave your own story in the comments while you still feel safe saying it out loud. Because once the machine starts knocking back, you do not stay for the cycle to finish. Tonight's story, Laundromat Horror. If the washers start by themselves, leave, starts now. I only went because it was late and I ran out of clean clothes for work the next morning. The laundromat near my apartment stayed open all night, and I'd used it enough times that I knew exactly what it sounded like when it was normal. Rolling wheels on tile, coins dropping into change machines, washer doors slamming shut, dryers thumping with sneakers inside them. That night, none of that sounded wrong at first. There were only two other people in there when I walked in, an older man loading a dryer near the back wall, and a woman at the folding table shoving baby clothes into a basket. I put my detergent on top of an empty washer, started sorting my clothes, and for maybe 10 minutes everything felt normal. Then the older man looked over at the front windows, stopped moving, and said, "They locked the door early tonight." I turned and saw him pointing at the entrance. The red "open" sign was still glowing in the glass, but the owner had already pulled down the metal security grate on the outside, not all the way, just enough to cover the bottom half of the door. The woman at the folding table looked irritated more than scared. "Great, so now what, we're trapped in a laundromat?" The man gave a little shrug and said, "Probably just stepped out." He didn't sound like he believed it. I remember thinking it was weird, but not enough to leave my clothes sitting there. I loaded one of the big front washers, fed in my quarters, pressed the button, and listened for the drum to catch. The machine started up under my hands with that heavy, familiar churn. Across from me, the woman finished packing her basket and dragged it toward the front door, but the grate outside had been fastened lower than it looked. She bent down, grabbed the handle, tugged once, then harder. "Hello?" The man walked up beside her and pulled too. It didn't move. I was still watching them when I heard another washer start behind me, even though nobody had touched it. It came alive all at once. No coin clink, no button press, just the motor catching and the drum turning. I turned around expecting to see someone standing there, but the row was empty. My first thought was that somebody must have left a cycle running and I just hadn't noticed. But this machine had been dark a second earlier. The little digital panel glowed green. Water rushed in. The woman looked over my shoulder and said, "Was someone using that?" I said, "No." We all just stood there, watching it fill, like that answer had changed something. When the drum made its first full turn, I saw movement behind the glass. At first, I thought it was a black hoodie or a sweatshirt stuck to the side. Then it shifted against the spin, and I saw what looked like fingers spread flat from the inside of the washer door. Long, gray fingers, too thin at the joints, dragged slowly across the glass as the drum rolled past. I froze so hard my hands went cold. The woman stepped backward and hit a basket with her heel. "There's somebody in there," the older man whispered. No, there isn't." Then the drum turned again, and a face rolled into view upside down behind the round window. It was not a person. I knew that immediately. Its skin looked stretched tight and wet, not pale like a sick person, but flat and gray like soaked paper. Its eyes were open too wide and didn't blink as it rotated past. Its mouth wasn't hanging open. It was smiling. Not a human smile. Too still, too deliberate. The machine kept turning, and every time the glass came around, that face was there, waiting in the same place, like it was holding itself against the inside just to look at us. Then the washer stopped spinning, and the thing inside knocked once on the glass from the other side. Nobody moved for half a second, and then the woman screamed and ran for the door. She dropped her basket, clothes spilling everywhere, and started yanking at the handle again. "Open it! Open it! Open it!" The older man rushed to help her, both of them pulling so hard the door shook in its frame. I backed away from the machine, but I couldn't stop looking at the glass. The face was still there, still smiling. Then the smile widened, and from inside the washer I heard scrape against the glass like it was breathing right through the door. My own washer stopped behind me with a hard clunk. Then another dryer along the far wall kicked on by itself. Then another. Then two more. The whole laundromat changed in a few seconds, from quiet and mostly empty to every machine around us starting up one after another. Drums spinning, motors whining, metal rattling. It got loud enough that I had to shout to hear myself. "Move away from the machines!" The older man did, but the woman was still fighting the front door, crying now, shoulders slamming into the glass. He grabbed her arm and pulled her back, just as the washer with the thing inside hit its latch from the inside. Once, twice. On the third hit, the door popped open. It did not crawl out fast. That was the part I still think about. It unfolded itself slowly, first one arm, then the other, then a shoulder pushing through the round opening like it was climbing out of a hole it had used before. Water poured off it onto the tile. Its back bent the wrong way for a second, and then straightened. It was too tall for the machine, and too thin for how strong it looked. Its arms hung below its knees, its head tilted toward us, and when it stepped out, its feet slapped wet against the floor. The woman made a sound I have never heard from a person before, and bolted toward the back exit near the restroom hallway. The older man ran after her. I did too, because the thing turned its head and looked straight at me, like it had been waiting to see who would move first. We ran between rolling baskets and detergent carts while the dryers pounded around us. I could hear the woman ahead of us sobbing and the older man gasping. "Back door! Back door!" The hallway to the restroom and service exit was narrow, lit by one buzzing fluorescent strip. The woman hit the metal push bar first. Nothing happened. She slammed it again. "It's locked!" The older man shoved past her and hit it with both hands. Still locked. I looked back toward the main room and saw the thing standing at the end of the hallway entrance, not rushing, not stumbling, just staring down at us while water dripped from its fingers. Behind it, the front-load washer door was still hanging open like a mouth. The older man grabbed a plastic laundry basket and hurled it. It hit the thing in the chest and bounced off like he'd thrown it at a wall. He backed away so fast he slipped. I reached down to pull him up, but before I could get a grip, the woman shoved past both of us and ran into the women's restroom. "There has to be a window!" The older man staggered to his feet and followed her. I stayed 1 second too long looking at the thing, because it had started walking now. Not fast, but straight at us, shoulders low, head still tilted, mouth parting just enough for me to hear. Coming from inside it. I ran into the restroom after them and almost crashed into the sinks. The woman was at the tiny frosted window above the trash can, standing on the bin and clawing at the latch. The older man was trying to force open one of the stall doors, like there might be another way through. There wasn't. It was just tile, mirrors, stalls, and that little window that was maybe big enough for a child. I grabbed the trash can and shoved it under the woman's feet to steady her. "Can you open it?" She shook her head so hard I thought she'd fall. "It's painted shut." The older man looked over his shoulder toward the restroom entrance and whispered, "It's coming." I heard its wet footsteps in the hallway, slow and even. Then silence. Then one long scrape of nails down the metal door frame outside the restroom. The woman started sobbing harder and hitting the window latch with the heel of her hand. The older man grabbed the metal soap dispenser off the wall with both hands and ripped until it came loose. He shoved it at me and said, "When it comes in, hit it!" I didn't want the weight of it in my hands. I didn't want to be standing closest to the door. But he shoved it into me anyway, and then the restroom lights blinked once and went out. The dark only lasted maybe 2 seconds before the emergency light near the mirror came on red and dim. But that was enough for the thing to move. 1 second it was outside, the next it was inside the doorway, bent nearly double to fit under the frame, shoulders shining wet in the red light. The older man rushed it with a shout I couldn't make out, and the thing moved one arm. Just one. It caught him across the face and throat and threw him sideways into the sinks so hard the mirror cracked in a spider web across the wall. He dropped without another sound. The woman screamed my name, even though I never remembered telling it to her. I swung the soap dispenser as hard as I could when it stepped toward me. It hit the side of its head with a metal crack, but the thing barely flinched. It just turned and looked at me closer now, and I could smell the washer water on it, hot and sour and chemical, like old wet clothes left shut too long. Its eyes did not blink. Its mouth opened wider, and I heard, right in my face. I stumbled backward, slipped on water the thing had tracked across the tile, and went down on one knee. Behind me, the woman finally got the window open a few inches. Cold air rushed in. "Help me!" I turned and grabbed the frame, pushing upward with her until the paint seal tore and the window jerked open wider. She tried to climb first, but panic made her clumsy. One leg went up, then slipped back down. I was pushing at her waist when the thing reached for her from behind. Its hand closed around her ankle. She shrieked and kicked, nails scraping the sill, both hands clawing at the outside brick. I grabbed her wrists and pulled with everything I had. For 1 second, I thought I was actually getting her out. Then the thing pulled once, hard. She slammed backward out of my grip so suddenly I nearly fell through the window myself. Her scream cut off the second she hit the floor behind me. I did not turn around. I couldn't. I knew what I would see. I forced myself halfway through the window, shoulders scraping, shirt catching on the latch, and dropped into the alley outside. The landing knocked the breath out of me. I hit the pavement on my side, rolled, and came up expecting to run, but the alley gate was chained shut. I grabbed it and shook it until the links cut into my palms. "Help! Help me!" Nobody answered. The rain had started again, light at first, tapping on dumpsters and blacktop. I looked up at the restroom window just in time to see the thing crouch into the frame, folding itself down to fit, one arm braced on each side. It didn't come out immediately. It just watched me from above while rainwater slid over its face. I backed away from the wall until I hit the opposite dumpster. There was nowhere to go. The chained gate behind me, brick on both sides, that window above. The thing climbed out silently after that, too silently for something that size, dropping into the alley without even bending its knees. It started walking toward me through the rain, while water from the laundromat still poured off its body. I remember trying to climb onto the dumpster lid, slipping, falling back down, scraping both hands bloody on the metal edge. I remember screaming until my throat burned. I remember it stopping right in front of me, close enough that I could see my own face shaking in its wet black eyes. Then it lifted one hand and pressed it flat against my chest, like it was feeling my heartbeat through my shirt. I couldn't move. I don't mean I was frozen from fear. I mean, my body stopped obeying me. My legs locked, my arms hung there. I was awake, I was breathing, but I could not step back when it leaned in and put its mouth beside my ear. The sound it made wasn't words, but it was deliberate, low and close and certain, like it wanted me to understand that it had chosen me before I ever walked through that door. Then it pulled away, took my basket from where it had fallen in the alley, and set it carefully at my feet. When the police found the laundromat later that night, the front grate was open and every machine inside was off. They told me they found the older man unconscious by the sinks, but the woman was gone. No sign of her in the building. No camera footage that showed anything except me running in and out. They asked why my wet clothes were folded so neatly in the basket when I said I never finished washing them. I didn't answer because I already knew. When I got back to my apartment near sunrise, my work shirt was on top of the pile, warm and damp, folded cleaner than I would have done it myself. Pressed into the center of it was the round rubber seal from a washer door. I threw the basket out that morning. But every few nights now, usually after midnight, I hear the spin cycle start somewhere nearby, even when my building laundry room is empty. Sometimes it stops right outside my apartment door, and then I hear one slow knock against the wood, exactly like knuckles hitting washer glass from the other side. If you're listening to this, and you've ever heard a machine start running when nobody was there to load it, don't stand still and tell yourself it's probably nothing, because that's what I did. And now every time I hear that sound, I know it might already be in the building with you. If you have a horror story of your own, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. You never know. The next story could be yours. Subscribe to The Vault so you don't miss what comes next.